Welcome back to Random Crossing New Horizons. I'm Day Darling, and should we see what's going on our lovely island of Fawnhollow today in the towards the night before Christmas. Well, it's not really actually. I was going to be like it's the night before Christmas. It's not the night before Christmas. It's in fact the 2 nights before Christmas, but it is the night before Christmas. Before I have pre-recorded episodes, I suppose, coming out today and tomorrow. Of which I forgot, I do need to edit the thumbnail art to make it a bit more Christmassy, but I've basically completely forgot to do that, so if I end up forgetting completely, then that's my apologies. But what should I talk about today? I'm not sure what to talk about, and nothing's really, you know what, this is an interesting anecdotal story. It's not that interesting actually, but still. Good evening everyone, right now on Fawnhallow, it's 10:06 PM on Friday, December 23rd, 2022, with visitors staying up campsite, which we haven't had for a while, but now I was going to talk about the fact I play this mobile game called Project Sakai, which is basically just sort of like a Vocaloid rhythm game, and I play it because I like rhythm games and I like the combination of cool artworks with it essentially. Wow, clear skies, I wonder if Celeste is here. And the thing is, recently they basically released a song with a whole new difficulty level. I can't remember what level it was, like 37 or something, which is basically like an insane, it's the new hardest song in the game. And it breaks the sort of golden rule that they've been having this entire time in the game, where every single song could be technically played with just 2 fingers. Now you need up to 4 fingers to play the song simultaneously. Technically, I mean, you could, it's sort of like technically you could do it with 4, but there's apparently one part you need 6 fingers on, which is a little bit insane. Which is always interesting to see, because at least, oh, hello, Pearl. No, you're not Pearl. Wait, yes, you are Pearl. I thought you were Olivia for a second. I just didn't know that's what you look like in this game. Like you're wearing like a Chong Sam or something. Anyway, and it's made big news, I suppose, in the Project Sakai community, because it's sort of like, what, I can't believe they've done this. Like, they released, not only have they released the hardest song, like, in this game, they didn't create a new difficulty level for it, and it has now broken rules that have been established before, where you'd only need 2 points of contact, I suppose, would be a way to describe it, to actually play any of the songs. Now you need up to 4, which is a little bit much, you know. It's sort of just like, whoa, you know. It like I haven't played it myself because I'm not actually that good at Project Sakai, you know. It's one of the idle games which is actually the rhythm games, idle rhythm games, I suppose, which is actually legitimately quite difficult, because I played most of them, you know. I played Love Live, I played Bandori, I played Starlight Stage. I haven't played the rest of them, to be honest, but you know, those are like the 3 big ones before Project Sakai, certainly. And you know, I can at the time I could full combo the hardest song in the game. Nowadays I can't anymore because they've released harder difficulties, but it's sort of just like, whoa, these games are getting pretty difficult. Because I saw someone, like, it was released like today or something, and I saw like, because I saw on my subreddit some people were posting like not an expert, but like someone who's really good at the games, like first reaction to it, and just reaction. It's always very entertaining to see you sort of, you know, like, you know, the same way as it's awesome to see experts like explain something that they're passionate about to you in simple terms. It's always really cool to see them actually genuinely surprised by something, I suppose, you know, because I'm playing it and them actually being like quite challenged, I suppose, by it, them being like, whoa, what's this, what's going on? It's pretty crazy, I think, in its own right. What was I going to say about this? I don't remember what I was going to say about this now. Anyway, someone's already full comboed it, which is, you know, absolutely insane. I mean, you can go look it up if you want. I can't remember what it's called though. It's called like What's Up Pop or something. It's insanely difficult, what I say, but I don't know. It's a sort of thing like, you know, I say with rhythm games, I think rhythm games fall into one of the biggest categories of sort of like absolutely incomprehensible if you've never played it before, and then like if you've played, you know, a few of them before, like, and you get the idea of sort of like blocking in your mind, where you can sort of like not memorize, but you sort of see the vague ideas, like certain patterns, and you can sort of just like pass it that quickly. They're actually a lot easier than you might expect. Which is why I want to say, if you ever want to show off your video game skills, I don't know why you would particularly, you know. Yeah, certainly you could play like a first-person shooter. You could play Valorant, and you can get some flick headshots and, you know, some crazy lineups or whatever, and, you know, get an ace. No, it's not called an ace. Is it called an ace in Valorant? I can't remember. Or whatever equivalent first-person shooter. Or you could play a rhythm game, see the absolute note spam coming down, and it's not even the hardest song of the game, and you can full combo it, and people will be like, "What?" It's crazy. That's what, you know, I can't remember, like, that happened a few times in university. You might be like, that's the most boring thing in the world, to sort of like show off in university. It wasn't just sort of like, oh, I'm sitting here being like, oh, you know, watch me play these rhythm games is amazing. But, you know, it's just like the conversation came up and we were just like, you know, can I see? I mean, you know, if you want a secret, you know, play Tokimeki Escalate on Cinderella Girls. It's Starlight Stage. It's one of the most visually impressive songs, but it's not It's kind of difficult, don't get me wrong, but it's not like insanely difficult, I suppose. It's just like a load of notes. You know, it's the thing where like, it's basically, because it's sort of like the eldritch horror of games. I don't know where I'm going with this, because it's just so incomprehensible, I suppose, when you look at it. Whenever you see like, sort of like a flurry and massive notes, people are just like, what on earth is going on? But when you actually play it, and once you're experienced with it, and you're like, oh yeah, I can just comprehend what's happening. I mean, I very much got that feeling. Like, as I said, I've been to like Japan, Japanese arcades. They have this, tons of rhythm games are one, but one which is very ubiquitous in all of them is called like Trinifium, I think. I can't remember the exact spelling. It has some crazy thing because it's not quite like touch based or something. We have like a mini sort of piano thing, but it also like the height of your hand sort of depends on how you hit the notes, and in certain cases, and it looks very visually impressive as you know, people sort of just waving their hands in front of like a computer screen. It's like pretty crazy, like the beat maps I got. Like, even when I went, I was pretty good at rhythm games. I mean, like, I played like on expert and I like died immediately, or like I could not like hold a combo, and I was like, this is insane. But I did remember I did, you know, play well enough in one of the songs to unlock the master difficulty. And you'd be like, which song was it? And it was Secret Base from the anime Anohana. But anyway, yeah, I don't know, like a sort of like spike in difficulty. It's always wild to see, especially when you think like you've mastered a game or something, or you've become pretty good at it. It's amazing how easily, I suppose, you know, not easy, I suppose, the limits can be broken per se, because the limits are being broken in this case because they're breaking unwritten rules when it comes to the actual sort of like structure and what to expect from a game in the first place, which is why it's so easily broken and why it's so easy to get sort of difficulty out of it. So I suppose you could argue it's sort of like artificial difficulty in the first place, which, you know, maybe it isn't, but I suppose by sort of like pushing these limits in the first place, you can add more interesting sort of difficulties and challenges, I suppose, to these sort of things. Like in another one of the rhythm games I played for Starlight Stage 1, they introduced a new mode called like Witch mode, which is, it's been years now since it's been introduced, but it's basically, I would describe it as a gimmick mode rather than the base game being sort of like the pure rhythm game experience. This one's very gimmicky. They like slow down, speed up, reverse time. They have like mines in it, which is very sort of like DDR-esque focus. Like I talked about in Video Games Done Quick, there was like I can't remember his name. It's like Spooky Biscuit or something like that, but that doesn't sound quite right. Where like someone did like a speed run, I suppose, of like some absolutely crazy beat maps or Dance Dance Revolution, and like with these absolutely insane gimmicks in where, you know, even like me looking at them being like, I was like have a harder difficulties. I was like, this is incomprehensible. I don't even know how you could do battle. But obviously, you know, the answer is you play it a lot, you sort of get used to it, you learn what's going on. And that's basically it. And there's not really that. I mean, there certainly is an element of memorization, I suppose. There's an element of muscle memory. Like even if you play the simplest, I suppose, levels in any sort of game over and over again, then you sort of get used to it. Actually, is there any game where you replay the same levels over and over again as much as a music game? By default, that is. Because obviously, you could just be like, oh, if you speed on a game, you play the same levels over and over again. Okay, yes, that's technically true, but that's not really what I meant. But is there any other genre? I suppose is what I meant, where you play the same level over and over again nearly as much as rhythm games. Because by rhythm games, it's sort of like by default, isn't it? Because you want to get like higher score, you want to get that full combo, you want to get the perfect full combo, etc, 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 right? And even once you get the perfect full combo, you just upgrade in difficulty. Unless you're on the hardest difficulty already, in which case you're just like legendary, and you can only get that by playing lots of the game multiple times in the first place. I feel like I talk about rhythm games quite a lot, but yeah, anyway, if you sort of spikes in difficulty are pretty crazy. Like, I wonder what the equivalent would be in like other sort of games, because it's always interesting. Like I guess it's sort of like a sub branch of like experts talking about something that they love and they're very good, skillful at and passionate about. Because I remember Skullgirls basically is a really cool fighting game with like a sort of like not noir, like dark deco style. The Shooting Star Island, which is it's a bit of a hit and miss style. I like some elements of it style. Like I think a lot of the ideas and concepts in it are really quite creative, and some of the characters are pretty cool. Like Peacock again is by far and away one of my favourite characters in all the video games, but so some of the anime, some of the designs and stuff a bit miss, because dark decos are sort of like inherently quite a very sort of sexy style, I suppose is what I describe it as. Well, I don't know if that's inherently true, but sort of like, at least the sort of direction they went with it. it's certainly quite sexual in nature, which is sort of like, you know, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It depends on the character, in my opinion, and their design in the first place. But I remember, like, even though, like, I wasn't into that Skullgirls, like, I always like watching these games where I have, like, a sort of vague knowledge of what's going on, and I sort of have a vague idea of who's, like, actually pretty good at it. And Sonic Fox, I believe, Sonic Fox one of their, like, the best Skullgirls player or something right now, and watching their reaction to, like, the new character at the time, Umbrella, being released, and just seeing their, like, responses being like, oh, interesting, she's got, like, a XYZ, and I was like, oh, you know, this is like this like this character. I don't know why it appeals to me so much to hear, like, even when I'm not an expert in the field, even if I've only got a passing interest, and I mean, I suppose that's not really, like, unique to me per se, but, like, it's so cool being able to hear someone, like, break something down and be surprised by something. And what am I doing? I just didn't stand in the corner properly, so, you know, okay, that's probably all the start fragments we're going to get from this. I'm not even going to try for the other two. The fact we got 7 out and 6 out of that is incredible in the first place. But seeing, like, their reaction to the thing, being like, whoa, that's a cool move, etc., etc., is always really, it's interesting. Because, you know, I suppose, as by nature, oh look, it's a new moon, didn't know that, by nature, you know, they've already seen quite a lot of surprises, they've seen a lot of things that they learn to expect, I suppose, in these sort of games. So whenever something sort of breaks the mould, I suppose it sort of rings in my head being like, whoa, this is really breaking the mould, or really going to change up how things are done. I mean, I suppose, you know, I even get that a little bit while playing League of Legends. You know, I'm not professional in League of Legends, but I played the game for, like, 12 years now. Oh my god. That's so crazy. Because the first time when I downloaded the game, it was literally, like, a couple of days before Christmas. And when I didn't play it because, you know, it was Christmas time. And then the first game I played was whatever champion rotation first featured in Nivea straight after Christmas. That's the first time I played. Anyway, so that's around 2020, December-ish, I think. I mean, yeah, technically I get that a little bit with League of Legends when I can look at, like, a champion's abilities and kit and be like, whoa, that seems interesting, whoa, that seems cool, etc., 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 right? So, I mean, I guess, you know, I should be giving myself props a little bit as well, you know, seeing something and being like, whoa, you know, this is something that I can break down mentally in my head. I can see how it fits into the meta. I can see, well, maybe not how it fits in the meta. I don't really have a solid grip on what the meta's like anymore, but I can sort of be like, whoa, you know, this is, like, how it's going to influence things, etc., etc., etc. I can't really think what I'm talking about. But, like, I don't know, it's just kind of cool, these jumps of difficulty. You know what I remember as well? I don't know why I remember the story, but I'm going to tell it to you anyway, because, you know, I'm running out of, like, big anecdotes, so I'm basically telling sort of medium and small anecdotes nowadays. But I remember in the maths lessons when our teacher was telling us about linear scaling and exponential scaling, where his example was he was a bit of a game himself, actually. I remember he was super excited for Diablo 3, and when I was like, oh yeah, Diablo 3, I really heard a review about it, like, it was not well received, and he was like, don't say that, I haven't played it yet. I don't know, you know, I don't know, Teach, if you ever, you know, ended up enjoying a lot of Diablo 3 or not. I don't know if other people really did in the end, but whatever. But no, I remember he was explaining, like, linear difficulty. He was like, imagine you're playing a video game, and the first level you fight, like, the first level you, like, fight an ant, and the next level you fight, like, a rabbit, and then the next level you fight, like, a wolf or something. That would be, like, linear difficulty, you know, if it was, like, a logical step from each one upwards to the next one. And then exponential difficulty, as he's explained it, would be, like, the first level you fight an ant, the next level you fight a rabbit, and then the third level you fight, like, one of the Ninja Turtles. And he was like, that's such a jump in difficulty, that's, like, exponential, you know. It's just, like, the difference, if you don't know what exponential is, basically, I mean, technically it follows exponential, you know, not distribution, but e to the x, which basically means in layman's terms is the change from one step to the next step is less than the change from that next step to the next step. Basically, the rate of change increases exponentially. Wow, that's crazy. Dy by dx equals ex, e to the x, sorry, not ex. Let's not say that. Let's get my maths notation right. 1q. But I don't know why that sticks in my head, because it's such, like, a non-event or whatever, but, you know, it's not even one which like clarified or explained to me, but like, oh, that's what exponential sort of like growth means, or an exponential growth. Well, I already said word growth. It just sticks in my mind for no apparent reason. And for whatever the only reason it sticks in my mind is because I pictured, like, a fighting game or something where you were as a character and you were fighting Rabbit, and then the next one fighting like Raphael from Ninja Turtles. It's sort of just like, whoa. It was a very vivid image in my mind, and for whatever reason that has stuck with me. Anyway, so sort of like difficulty jumps are a bit crazy to think of. I don't really know where I was going with this. I wonder if the difficulty in those rhythm games are exponential as well. Like, what's the difference between like the hardest level, which technically only requires 2 fingers to beat, to one that requires 4? Is it that much harder? I don't know. But it's a very common thing in rhythm games, especially when we use touchscreen. This is sort of like we will make the hardest levels possible, but they'll always be beatable, with only 2 fingers. And the reason for that is a lot of people actually play with their thumbs, not just their fingers. The best way to play, in my opinion, is to put your device down on the table, then use your 2 index fingers and sometimes your middle fingers as well to actually play the game. But a lot of people like to hold the phone or tablet, I suppose, in their hand, if they can hold the tablet comfortably in their hand, and just use their thumbs to actually swipe and tap the notes in the first place, which I think is a little bit insane, to be honest. I only do that if I'm on a bus or something and I'm I don't have a table to set it down on. But if you prefer to play that way, by all means. But it's a very common thing for rhythm games to basically be the hardest level is you can always technically beat it with just 2 fingers. It's completely fine. But then at some point they just throw that out the window, be okay, eventually you're going to need 4 fingers, because I guess there's only a certain level of difficulty you can really accomplish by 2 levels. Or maybe that's not necessarily true. Maybe, if you're particularly creative, you can think of even better ways to get 4. I was going to say you're worth for 4 fingers, but that's probably not the best way to phrase things. But you know what I mean. Difficulty-wise for rhythm games. I'm trying to think. Because even Shanethium, I think, still you could do everything with just 2 points of contact. Actually, that might not necessarily be true, because I didn't really play Master Mode in any of the songs. I could only do expert, because I was an absolute scrub. I remember the Love Live one, but you had to have 4 on the hardest difficulty. I can't really remember the other ones. There was Sound Vortex or something, but that was a really hard one, I'm not gonna lie. And that has multiple mechanics going on, because you got the base 4 buttons, and you got 2 half lane buttons, and you got the twisty knobs as well, which is sort of just whoa. A little bit insane to play with. It's pretty cool though. If you ever looked it up, you'll look at it and be whoa, this is a trip. This is when you used to listen to songs on Windows Media Player, and it would give you the audio visualizer or something, or make a wallpaper that goes along with it. But basically that, but absolutely on in a complete dream or nightmare scenario. Anyway, spikes in difficulty. I don't know what the biggest spike of difficulty is for any game. Of course, I'm only really talking about music games in my mind, but there's probably been other things, I don't know, difficulty levels in Elden Ring. Maybe it gets way harder for each one. Never played any of them, but that's not for me to decide. Anyway, I'm going to round up this episode here. So if you have been watching, thank you very much. It's been Animal Crossing New Horizons. I've been Dear Darling. Likes, comments, description, shares, greatly appreciated. Discord and Twitter down below. Hope we see each other again, but for now, it's our farewell. So until next time, bye-bye for now, and happy holidays, if you celebrate it, that is.